Hello everyone, hope you're doing well and are safe. My name is Maham Khalid and I'll be your faculty for this unit, which is Unit 1, Development and Progress. And we are going to explore this unit in its economic and social dimensions. Now, I believe that you guys must have heard these terms, development and progress. And we are going to be talking a lot about these two terminologies. So before I start with this unit, I would like to give you a quick introduction, a quick explanation that what is the basic difference between these two identical terms. Okay. Now, in sociology, progress is a movement towards a goal. Okay. While development is a broader process, it is a multidimensional process that involves growth as well as improvement in many different areas. Okay. So now we are going to study this terminologies, that is of development and progress, and we'll be tossing in the dimensions of economic and social dimensions. Okay. Now, coming to our learning objectives. So, in this particular unit, we'll be studying about the different theories, the different schools of thought, and what is their ideology and what is their perception on development as well as on the concept of progress. Okay. Then, secondly, we'll be studying about development as a growth. Okay. And we'll be relating it to the concept of modernization. Coming to the third aspect, we'll be studying about the social and human dimensions of development. So just like I told you that development is a broader process, it is a multi-dimensional process. So it takes into consideration different indicators, okay? So it looks at the improvement in different areas, and social and human dimensions of development is one such topic that we are going to cover in this. And lastly, we are going to talk about the paradigm shift in the development discourse, that how it appeals to certain nations, how it is not fit for certain nations, and how different nations are trying to ruffle between this concept of development and underdevelopment. So it's a bit long unit, but it is a very necessary one. So without further ado, let's start with understanding of development and progress. Okay. Now, the notion of evolution, which means that we are constantly evolving, we are constantly progressing, and we are constantly moving towards an objective and towards a goal. Okay. So it is derived from the Latin word evolver. Okay. It means to develop or to unfold, right? And it is closely related to the Hindi or Sanskrit word vikas. Okay. Now the concept of evolution, it is moving towards our targets, when our targets are being achieved, where our milestones are being achieved. All this is applied to the internal growth of the living organisms. Okay, so like human beings, the environment around us, the social conditions around us, it applies to everything. Okay, while the notion of progress, okay, now we are talking about progress, it always means to step forward. Okay, and it comes from the Sanskrit word paragat. So in simple words, and to conclude, like we can say that development comes after progress. Okay, so it deals with the more wholesome activity, while progress, it deals with a certain goal being achieved. Now, let's start with the different theorists and their perspective on development. So, the first theorist that we are going to discuss is also known as the father of sociology. And Auguste Comte, was a French philosopher and a sociologist, like I said. And he said that there is a close link between society and science. Okay, so he said that there is this idea where the societies, they progress through three stages of progression. Okay, so like each society witness these three stages of growth and development. So the first stage that we're going to talk about is the theological stage. Now, the theological stage, the world and human destiny, they are explained by gods and spirits. Okay. So, like in this, there everything is considered to be supernatural, and everything is devoted to something, like supernatural and something that we cannot see. Moving towards the metaphysical age, now this metaphysical age was like an extension of the theological stage only. Okay, in the metaphysical stage, the explanations are in terms of the essence. Okay, and lastly, and the most crucial stage was the positivist stage, according to Auguste Comte. And he said that the science and observation they are paramount in this stage, which means like people started actually questioning. There was this concept of accountability that was raised during this positivist stage. Okay, so this is Comte's law of three stages, and he says that every society they begins in the theological stage, then they move towards metaphysical stage, and lastly each and every society they witness a positivist stage. Okay, so Comte believed that all these three stages they can exist simultaneously also in a society. Okay, so he suggests that this society it moves from a simple form of organization to a complex form of evolution. Okay, and he suggests that after the positivist stage there could be a stage of moral development. Okay, and this change of moral development it will bring about changes in the social institutions, in the social fabric of the society. Now let's move towards another theorist, and we are going to talk about Lewis Henry Morgan's theory on development. Okay, so he said that human societies they develop over time, and they usually follow the three main epochs. Okay, and he says that these are the three stages of evolution. Okay, so the first stage is that of savagery. The second is that of barbarism, and third is that of civilization. Okay, so savagery is the stage, like in short I'm going to tell you that it is the earliest stage of the development, which is characterized by hunting, gathering and collecting wild plants. Okay, so this stage of savagery also is divided into three stages. So in the first lower stage, it is like the human beings they used to live in tropical forests, and they used to survive on fruits, nuts, and roots which were served them as food. Okay. Then coming to the middle age, this was the time where they were able to utilize fire, and they could be like they were able to use fish as food. Then coming to the upper stage, human beings invented bow and arrow, and this time like they started using their tools for hunting, and like hunting became a common phenomena in this stage, and here wood vessels and utensils were also used. Now coming to the another stage, that is of stage of barbarism. Okay, so under the lower stage of barbarism, now barbarism is something during this time agriculture started to develop. There was this idea which was invented, the usage of metal work it started to increase. So during this lower stage human beings they entered into the introduction of pottery. Okay, so they started using the utensils that were made up out of mud. Okay, coming to the middle stage, now here the domestication of animals began. Okay, they started cultivating edible plants. There was also introduction of new techniques of irrigation. They started making buildings with sun dried bricks. Okay, and the upper stage, this was a very transitional phase. Okay, So during this time, there was, like there were activities like smelting of iron ores. They started, like writing, like basic alphabetic writing. There were also multiple records found, like literary records. Then, just like in the previous stage, also we studied that there was an introduction of various agricultural techniques. Okay, so there was this use of iron plowshare, which was drawn by cattle during this time. And coming to the last stage, that is of civilization. Now, this is the highest stage, and this was the phase where the human society has acquired a sophisticated dimension in life. So, like, this is the highest like level, and Morgan has stressed a lot on this stage. Okay, so Morgan, he claimed that all human societies, they develop in a predetermined manner through the same origin of traits. Okay, so he had traced the ideas, he has traced the growth through these three stages, that is of civilization, barbarism, and savagery. Now, moving on to a very important theorist, that is of Karl Marx. Okay, now the Marxist perspective on development is a very like it is linked with economic as well as social development. Okay, so he sees development as the social emancipation of people, and he says that the like there is conflict which works as the basis for society. Okay, so now he says that the Asiatic he talks about the stages, and he says that the Asiatic mode of production, it is not considered to be as a stage in Western society, right? But in the ancient mode of production, or like slavery or feudalism, all these are the foundations of the productive system. And coming to talk about the most common economic or social system about which Karl Marx has talked a lot, that is the capitalist mode of production. And he says that it is characterized by the large scale commodity production, and he asserts that like society progresses through various stages, and he says that the like the Asiatic mode of production, the feudal stages, the tribal, the ancient, and ultimately the capitalist stage, it will be like due to a conflict, just like I was saying earlier, will be a core factor in the development from capitalism to socialism. So he says that when the workers of the world will unite, when the like when the working proletariat, when they will become aware, when there will be consciousness among them, and they will all come together, and they will break this cycle of like this rapid growth, and at that time they will start controlling the means of production. So he says that ultimately capitalism would be replaced by socialism, where everything will be controlled by the state. Now let's move forward with our another theorist, that is of Herbert Spencer. Now I believe that you guys are like very much associated with the perception that Herbert Spencer has. So he is like usually associated to the evolution school of thought, and he says that nature is as a force is extremely good. Okay, so he says he starts comparing the society to that of living species. Okay, and he says that just like living beings, they like at an early age, living beings, they start with the very simple activities, and later they become like more complex and more sophisticated in their actions. So similarly, even the society moves from simple to complex structures. Okay, so he says that the nature and the very fluent movement through society is a very crucial factor for development. So just like I was saying, that he believed that the organisms like they start from simple to complex, similarly the society moves from simple to complex. And he also believes that the society, it moves through economic and other acts of spontaneous cooperation, and he says that this cooperation, it exists within the social individuals. Okay, so this control, this working is very interdependent between different elements of society. Moving on to our next school of thought, that is of Tonis. So, like the complete name of this theorist is Ferdinand Tonis. Okay, so he says that kinship, like the relations that we have, the neighborhood, the friendship, these are the major types of groups. So, basically, he focuses a lot on the social institutions. So, he talks about the two type of groups or two types of communities. One is Gemeinschaft and the other one is a Gesellschaft. Okay, so he says that in the Gemeinschaft, like the community is guided by the common will. So means that this particular group, it focuses a lot on friendship, on kinship relations, the social institutions and neighborhood. Whereas on the other hand, there is Gesellschaft, where there is no common will, and individuals, they are completely guided by the self-interest. Okay, so Tones was very, like he had a very pessimistic view of the modern society. On one hand, he was praising a lot that like industrialization has boosted development, it has boosted progress. But on the other hand, he remained quite pessimistic because he saw a decline in the traditional morality, in the traditional structures of society. And he says that the like people were becoming more alienated, and like they were like they were just trying to refuse the importance of kinship, of association, or of friendship, or of being known. Okay, so like therefore his idea on development, and especially on that of industrialization, is quite pessimistic in nature. Now let's move to Emile Durkheim's ideas on progress. Okay. Now Emile Durkheim, major stress was on the division of labor. So he says that society is like like different parts coming together, and each unit has something specialized to contribute. Okay. So he suggests that like the social change will occur when people will come together. Okay, and development will occur on the basis of division of labor, when there will be increased contact between the people. And he believed that increased interaction, increased communication, transportation, all this will lead to social change. And this social change will be from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity. Okay, so he says that each individual is specialized, and this individualism should be respected, but this should be socially integrated with a bondage of division of labor. So, hence, division of labor is his central suggestion and his central idea and his central feature of his theory, which is on progress. Moving on to another very important theorist, that is of Max Weber, and we'll be talking about his ideas on development. Okay, now, like Weber believed that all the technical change and the structural change in society, or the income growth in the society, has been fostered through the capitalist development. Okay, so he says that the capitalist industrialization, it occurred in the selected countries of Western Europe. Okay, and like in the Western Europe, and he says that the other places like Calvinist Protestants of these countries, they develop this idea of the worldly asceticism, like in which they give up on everything, but they were rationalizing their thoughts, and their whole focus was to like increase the production. Their whole focus was to invest in industry. Okay, and they were just trying to like validate, and they were just trying to glorify the world in which the hard work, in which the product of their hard work was like assured, and it was like desired by God. Okay, So he says that this according to Weber, like he observed that the development of human society has been from the traditional to pre-industrial, and later they went to rational capitalist societies. Okay, so he says that through rationalization of the religious beliefs, the selected countries, they were able to, like reach to their economic success. Okay, so he has this very famous thesis of Protestant ethic, where like he says that this rationalization of religious beliefs, it has led to the economic success of Protestant groups in the early stages of capitalism. Now, hopefully, Weber's understanding on development is clear to you guys. So let's move to our next slide, and we'll be studying about Hobhouse on development. Okay, so now the complete name of this theorist is Leonard Hobhouse. Okay, and he made an attempt to basically demonstrate a correlation, a link between the human progress and the advancement of society. So now coming to his ideas on development. So basically, he had a very philosophical theory, and he says that knowledge and rationality are the means of social change. Okay, so he says that freedom and direction are very important, because like the social progress would be obstructed, and it, because if we'll put any restrictions on that, a person will not be able to develop its knowledge, and when a person will not be able to develop its knowledge, then the complete development will not be able to take place. So he says that the knowledge, rationality, freedom, direction, and efficiency are few features that are very important for a society to have social change, to have witnessing development. Okay, so this is how he was able to demonstrate that there is a correlation between the human progress, which means that they should be able to achieve knowledge, and hence it will automatically result in the advancement of society. So moving on to our last theorist for this unit is that of Talcott Parson. Okay, now Talcott Parson was an American sociologist, and he has stressed a lot on socialization and on adaptive behaviors. Okay, so he has analyzed a few evolutionary societies. So the first society he mentioned that was that of primitive societies. Okay, so he says that these are the kind of societies where there were elementary forms of organization. Okay, so like basically they were very simple societies which depended on hunting and food gathering. Moving forward from these primitive societies were the intermediate societies. Now, these intermediate societies, they evolve from primitive societies, and there is a phenomena of social differentiation. Okay, so when there is growth in society, when there is growth in population, there are certain like communities, there are certain groups which are better at like adaptive behaviors, and hence they grow better in comparison to the other. So this also leads to occupational differentiations, and this also leads to creation of new classes of people in society. Lastly, he talked about the modern societies, and according to Parson, they have a very unique contribution. Okay, so these kind of societies, they have basically evolved through industrial revolution, through ideas of democracy, through questions, through like positivism, through accountability, or through educational revolution, or through French revolution. So basically, when there was this consciousness among the people, and this ultimately led to change. Okay, so he tries to point out that the evolutionary advantage lies within the certain specific institutions. So when there is change in religious communication, when there is change in kinship, when there's change in technology, so these are the first conditions of the human societies, especially in cases of development.